Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne with Back to Earth Creations and welcome to this week's Craft Along project. We are going to be making a bauble set in chainmail using not 2-part epoxy and not UV resin, but glow-in-the-dark polymer clay. So this is a project that goes along with our July 2025 Craft Along kits, but you do not need one of our kits to craft along with us. There's a list of the tools and materials that you'll need down below. There's Z-Dubs. He's such an itchy boy. It's okay, buddy. Yeah, tools and materials are listed down below, and I'm going to take you on a tour real quick of what you can expect in this month's kit if you are one of our kit subscribers. So in our $15 kit, you can expect 3 cabochons. The $15 kit we really recommend for folks who you already have the chainmail that you want, you already have polymer clay, you already have wire, you just want some of our unique homemade fused glass cabochons. And if you're interested in seeing how we make these cabochons, we do release videos at least a few times throughout the month showing how we're making, whatever it is that we're making at this time. And that way, if you want to learn how to make your own, that's a pretty cool option too. Now, our $25 kit is where you start getting the Craft Along Project Pack, which this month is one of our packs of glow-in-the-dark Cos Clay polymer clay that bakes at 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes per 1/4 inch. So for today's project, we'll be baking it for 30 minutes. Even though it's not quite 1/4 of an inch, it doesn't hurt it a bit. It seems to overdo it. And then as well as a pack of the 18 gauge 1/4 inch aluminum rings that are saw cut, so you can get a really nice closure on them. These rings haven't been tumbled, so they may leave a little bit of gray residue on your fingertips as you work. You can clean it up with some dish soap and like a toothbrush or something. It will take all of that residue off and your rings will be nice and clean and bright and shiny. Now you can also, each kit, that the 25, 35, 45, and 55 has the same project pack, but you get more cabochons. So I just think that's a pretty cool way of, depending on how crafty you feel this month, or if you're making, inventory for on a website or gifts to give people, or if you have like a farmer's market or craft show booth, or if you put your products or your art that you make into boutiques and different things like that. I think the $55 kit is the best bang for your buck, but that's just if you've got the time for crafting. Otherwise, the $25 kit is a great starter, and the 35 and 45 just are nice little stepping stones in between to try to have something to suit everyone's budget and craft time. That we don't always, there's so many projects and so little time. I wish I had more time in the day to craft, so I can only imagine some of y'all feel that way as well. So that being said though, let's go ahead and get to the project. Now again, these are what you can expect in your kit, which is enough to do quite a few of the baubles in this style, but I'm going to be working from my own personal stash. And if you don't have the 18, and that is a standard wire gauge, 18 gauge 1/4 inch jump rings, this also works really well with an 18 gauge 3/16 or a 16 gauge 1/4. There's a lot of different ring sizes that you could use to do this setting, but these were the rings that we had, so these are the rings that we're using. So a lot of our cabochons can vary in size, and I really like this method for setting cabochons that are translucent. So something that you'll really be able to see the glow through. And so these are just a random selection. Some of them are more round than others, some of them are larger than others. And so I wanted to show you yet again how to weave the half Persian 3-in-1, because I know that this is one that can be quite challenging, especially doing the closure on this can be quite challenging for those both new and experienced in chainmail. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by opening. I'm right-handed, so I open with the left side going away from me, because then whenever I hold the ring, it's very easy for me to kind of sew with that end pointing away from me. You can do it the other way if you like, but if that works for you, there is no right or wrong way to do this. It's just about what gets it done. Now, whenever we open and close our rings, I like to try to keep the ends relatively in line with each other, and we just open it at that angle, as opposed to opening the rings. Like, I like to open them like this, as opposed to like that, because it gives us a brittle point, and it's quite difficult to get a nice round ring shape again. So whenever I don't know how many rings I'm going to need, like if you're using a different ring size and following along with me, the numbers are going to be different. You know, if you're using a smaller or larger ring, you may need fewer or more rings to get around the circumference of our cabochon. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I'm going to start here with just 10, and I'm going to put 2 closed on the first ring. Also, something that may be helpful to you if you are new into chainmail, or if you're having difficulty with this design, is to have 2 different colors of rings. Now, I wasn't able to do that for our kits, but that is something that if you find yourself having difficulty, that may be helpful to you. I know it is to me for sure. And so I'm coming through, and as I close our rings, let me actually get a little tighter in on the camera angle on this. So as we close our rings, you can see there's a super tiny little gap there. And that's caused by whenever the saw blade that cuts the rings removes a little bit of material. So I like to kind of press my pliers towards each other until we get a nice, ooh, there we go. And these are called butted chainmail. There's also riveted, and you can do soldered and stuff. But with the aluminum, I like to just do a nice butted closure, and that saw cut lets us get a really nice butt on our closures, like, because they're butted up against each other. And so we're just going to go through, and I'm going to close 1 ring to put on each. And sometimes what I can't see with my eyes, I can with my finger. And so I just like to get as perfect of a closure as I can, because really with chainmail, it's just opening and closing rings. It, like, you know, the interlacing of them before you close it, it varies from weave to weave, but the core technique to, you know, try to master as soon as possible for me is to get good closures, because even the simplest of chainmail weaves can be elevated by quality closures, and even the most ornate and intricate and well woven, you know, you might got the pattern down, but if your closures are ragged, it's going to kind of bring that piece down, and you'll be able to feel it when you wear it, you know, for sure. So we'll come through, and typically I'll have 2 on the first and none on the last. And so we're going to pick this up, and we're going to close it. Also, I hope it's not too loud. It's like sweltering today, so I've got the door open, and so you may be able to hear the turtle tank. I'm sorry if you need to go to the restroom, but that's what that running water noise is my fairy god turtles are hanging out with us today. And I also have a fan going because your girl's sweaty. So here we have, you know, we closed that ring, and we're going to take the 2 rings, and we're going to slide one behind the other. Initially, we're going to ignore this ring that's going to be like our horizontal one, even though it's not going to be perfectly horizontal. But you'll be able to see here, we have a little bit of a Venn diagram with those 2 rings. And this one's kind of like, woo, just floating around. Just focus on that Venn diagram. We'll pick up the next ring, and we'll hook through those 2, being careful to not hook through our horizontal ring. Now, I will have down in the video description other tutorials that are in different ring sizes and in different colors and in slightly different methods that hopefully will be helpful to you. So I'm still holding on to the ring that we just closed, because starting half Persian 3-in-1 is difficult enough on its own. So we have that, and I just want to get between the ring that's dangling with nothing attached to it and the rings that are dangling with stuff attached to it. And oh, you can see here, it's just sitting crazy. Sometimes you just gotta poke it a little to get it to behave right. I don't understand sometimes what happens, but we'll just, knowing that these two are supposed to be sitting next to each other and these two are supposed to be sitting next to each other helps me to poke it until it's where I want it to be. And now, also, I do not recommend this for your very first chainmail weave. Like, that's, I mean, give it a try if you feel brave and bold. Like, but good luck to you, because this is the most challenging weave I have ever learned. Which is why we tackle it so much. So I now have this one positioned. We're going to try to recreate that Venn diagram where we're threading through 1 and 2. That's how it looks from the back. We just want to make sure that we're not hooking through, the wrong rings. Like, we don't want to be going through those horizontal ones. We just want to be hooking through, boop, boop, right there. And again, it gets a little jumbled every single time. That's okay. It's okay if you get frustrated with a project, like, don't hesitate to sit it down, try it in maybe a different ring size or in a different color combination, or just give yourself some space from the project. So this one I like to have just right here, kind of floating, lined up. I just hold between my finger and my thumb to keep things steady and stable. And we're just going to hook through, boop, boop. Just those two, not getting that other one. There we go. And then if you can't get it across easily, I'm in the habit of going up and over, because with smaller ring sizes, that's usually what I'll end up needing to do, is kind of lift up and over, because especially if I were doing this with a 16 gauge instead of an 18 gauge, there wouldn't be that space to bypass, so I'd have to go up and over. And I am nothing if not a creature of habit. So just coming around that way. And then also, if you got the kit and you're just not, this is not working for you, like this weave, I'm going to show you and you can screenshot it. We're going to set this down. But this ring size is the 18 gauge 1/4 inch, which I'm not certain. Oh, you can see on this side, it is the 18 gauge 1/4 inch, which has an aspect ratio of 5.3. This is Chainmail Joe's ring sizer chart. You can also find a printable version of a chart similar to this at theringlord.com. That will be linked down in the video description as well. And then you can flip it over, and this is super handy, and as far as I'm aware, unique to Chainmail Joe's sizer chart, is if we've got a 5.3, well, you could use this ring size for a box weave. You could do a European foreign one with it. It'll just be very airy and open. You could do a helm chain if you have a second ring size. You could do spiral, and so that's what the aspect ratio. So 5.3, it wouldn't work for a barrel weave. It would work for Kingsmail. Kingsmail's gorgeous. I don't know if it looks blurry on the camera, but it's basically European foreign one, but there's 2 rings where every one ring is. So yeah, so you go ahead and give that a screenshot if it's in focus, or Google it. They might have it on Chainmail Joe's website. But yeah, so if this weave isn't working for you, these rings will work for all sorts of other things. And I wish you luck. So we're just going to hook through another ring here, getting that closed. And it's at this point that I'm going to start measuring and being like, okay, how much do I need to weave for this smallest? And this is how I test, is I just hold it up. And it's like, well, it looks like we might need, 2, possibly 3 more. I'd rather it be tighter than looser on the cab, that way it holds. But if we're too tight, especially with this being aluminum rings, they're softer. So I don't want to put too much pressure on it, because the rings will start to kind of spread apart. And some of that I can work with, and I'll show you here shortly. So let's see here. Oop. Yeah, I think that'll do the trick. I think 10 will be just enough. So the last ring that we add to start the closure doesn't have another ring on it. So I'm just hooking through, again, that same spot. And then making sure that there's no twists, I'm coming around and I want to hook through our horizontal. So if we're holding this flat, we're not going to hook through this one. We're just going to hook through the one that's currently on my left. Ooh wee, there we go. And it doesn't have to be perfectly positioned. We just got to get it through and get it closed. And even now, after all this time, I'm so hesitant to set the project down because I'm like, I don't want to lose what ring I was on. But we'll let go now. And this one will kind of naturally fall behind the other vertical ring. And if it doesn't, we'll want to make sure that that's where it ends up. And then this horizontal one, we're going to turn it until we find the closure. But we're going to be hooking through right here. Boop, boop, boop. So with that plan in mind, let's pick up our ring. We're going to open it quite generously. And then we're going to pick this up, make sure that they're stacked. This ring's in front of the ring 1, ring 2. We want ring 1 on top. And we're going to kind of bring it right through there. And then we're going to close it. And I think this, with this weave, just looks so pretty. Just kind of sitting flat on a table. If we gave it a few more rings, it would sit in a nice like circle instead of going oval like that. But this is one of my favorite weaves, which I'm glad, because it gives me so much trouble that I'm glad that I like it. Like, and so now we're just gonna position that, and we're gonna push our cab in from, I like to do it from the back, that way, you know, because the cabochons have a little bit flatter of a back, and it's like it has this nice curve to kind of slide down. And that worked just perfect. And there's a great example here where you can see how the rings kind of spread apart a little. What I do is I'm now going to go through with my bent nose pliers, and I'm just going to, I'm like grabbing and then turning just a little, just to hide all of our closures. If there's anywhere that I can see a closure, I just scooch that around until it's hidden. Boop, boop, boop. You know, I still try to do my best on the closures and stuff, but I like to hide them because it just gives it such a nice, like, just tucking in. To me, it's the chainmail equivalent of tucking in the loose ends of my wire in a wire wrapped piece, you know? And so just coming through, there's another closure. And you can grab anywhere you like on the wire. And you don't have to do this part. For a long time I didn't, but it makes my brain happy, and quite frankly that's the big point of crafting for me. You know, like well, we do this professionally, so making sure that I take the time to do things just because they make me happy, instead of just doing the things that, it's not all about the profit margin. If I were here for, like, you know, the profit margin, I'd have just gone and gotten like a job. But no, I do this because I want that happy brain chemical of, oh, I did the craft. And now, oh, it's silky smooth because there's no, I still tried my best on all the closures, but now there's no closures. And what we're going to do from here is I'm going to grab just a pinch. It does not take much. Like this little bit right here is probably too much. I'm going to take just a pinch of our Cos clay. This is glow-in-the-dark Cos clay. And I'm just going to smush it on into the back. And now with this one, I just made contact with the rings around. You can see with this one here, I went ahead and pushed to exceed that edge. And so you could do whichever you like. I kind of like exceeding the edge because it gives us more glow from the front as well. And now from here, we could use all sorts of different tools. Here I have a knitting needle. We could draw little hearts or stars or spirals. Let's do a little spiral on this one with our knitting needle. It's not a very good spiral, but that's okay. We can also come in and just stipple the whole background if we want. Now, if we use something like a knitting needle that has a finer tip, that's going to give us a larger stippling than if we used, let's see, do I have something? Ooh. Now this will have a little bit of texture in it, but we could use just the back of a pen. It almost did like a little face. So you can do all sorts of different artwork and stuff on the backs of these, but one of my favorite things to do is to just use a ball stylus and oh, here's something with a texture, but to use a ball stylus to do a little bit of a texture on. But yeah, so you can use textures and different things, just whatever you like. And then we will put this in the oven at 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. And I set these on like a glazed ceramic tile. Let me get a few, I'm gonna get these other ones made, and then we'll get them baked and I'll show you. So in the instance that your cab slipped out of your setting and your polymer clay has gotten just about everywhere and it's a gooey, goopy mess, that's okay. We can just come through and try to remove as much as we can. This Cos clay that we send out in the kits, I really like working with it because of how good it is, I think, after it's been baked. But y'all, this is the softest clay, like the ooey gooeyest, softest clay I have ever in my life worked with. And so what I would recommend is if you feel like you've just made a mess of it, you can go ahead and bake it and then kind of knock off, you know, the little crumbly pieces. Or at least that's what I'm going to try, because I have just made a mess of this, y'all. And this is something that I actually really like about the polymer clay. Instead of using like resins or something, is it's a little, you know, well, maybe a little easier to clean up. So I've gotten off as much as I can. And you could use a toothpick or, you know, whatever you like to kind of get in there. But let's experiment with how to recover from a whoopsie. So we've got this one still quite hot out of the oven. And this has cooled down enough though that we can come through and just kind of gently, between our pliers and our fingers, remove the polymer clay from the chainmail bezel. So some tips are, I think, less is more. You know, make sure that you have the cabochon face down on your work surface whenever you're applying the clay. Like, we'll go into that more here in a minute. But and worst case scenario, if this method is not working out so well for you, you can still totally put a glob of the polymer clay just onto the back of the cabochon, like pretty much just like this, and you can press and blend it out to the sides, and then you can bake that
just by itself in your oven at 275 for, you know, I wouldn't go over 30 minutes. I mean, that's such a little bit of clay. And then you could still set this in the chainmail bezel, but use like a 2-part epoxy or a UV resin. So something that you can watch out for is the Cos clay is a little flexible, so you can force the cab out, but you'll see that broke one of the rings. And if that happens, we can just get in there. This is a wonderful opportunity to become very familiar with the intricacies of half Persian 3-in-1, whether you want to or not, and reconnect it, but we're going to come in from the inside. So just like that. And if your cab's popping out on you quite a bit, you could use a spot of super glue or some E6000 or something else instead. But I just wanted to experiment and see if this was, well, for one, a good idea, and for two, to see what y'all thought of it, because I'd love to explore this more with high levels of success. How'd I get that back in there the first time? Because this is like the second or third time that there we go, that I've popped it out. So yeah, I don't think we're gonna have to worry about that popping out on its own. We can still kind of tuck those openings behind. And now if we're going to, so yeah, I would just come through to finish this one off. Sorry, a little scattered. But isn't that how it goes? So it's a little tedious, but if there's a crafter, there's a way. Oh, and I bet you could just take a nylon bristle brush and clean that right up. But if you want to make a bail, one of my favorite ways of doing that is going to be to take 2 of these rings, open, and then 2 more, open with one closed on the first one. And then let's go ahead and do 1, 2 more up that way. And so how I'm going to do this is we're going to take this open ring and we're going to hook through the front and back layer of our half Persian 3-in-1, and we're going to close it, tuck in any of those little openings, and then we're going to go the next link over and hook through, and then close it, and then we can lean these both upward. Oh, I guess I didn't need to do, we'll need all 3 of those rings open. So we're going to hook through these 2. We're going to make a little bit of a Mobius flower. So there's 1, and then we're going to hook through those 2 again, but then through that 1 that we've added, and close it. And then we're going to take our 3rd ring, and again we're going to hook through the 2 that are attached to the bezel, and then we're going to hook through those 2. And it just makes a little bit of like a fun, let's see if we can get a little Mobius flower. And then these 2 rings that I'm adding are what we would put a chain or a cord or something through. You could attach a pre-made bail, like if you had some that are store-bought, like cast alloy. But otherwise, there we are. And I think that's just a lovely pendant design, a great way to feature some of your chainmail with our fused glass. It's like a collaboration piece. So I'm going to do that bail again. We're going to open the 2, and this time I'm going to make the Mobius flower first. So there's 1, 2, and then I am going to go ahead and close that one and stack it on there, and then I'm going to open the 2 more that are for the bail. 1 and 2. So the one open with the one closed on it, giving that a nice closure, and then just hooking through both of those with our third ring. Then I like to just drop it onto the table. Sometimes it doesn't look right. You just poke it until it does. And now from here we can, you find whichever is the best angle that we like the most of our cabochon. And it can be a little snug getting it to fit through, but that's all right. There's 1, 2, and then I'm going to go the next one over, and then closing that. Oh heck, I was supposed to attach the Mobius flower. So we're going to open that back up, slide our Mobius flower through. And again, if anything else, this demonstrates there is no right or wrong way. It's to get to where we're going, it's just getting there. With it all holding together and with it all looking more or less like how you wanted it to, and hopefully with no pokey bits. I personally prefer to build the Mobius flower onto the bale. I can close that a little better. There we go. But I just wanted to show you that there are other ways if one's preferable to you over the other. And then we'll go ahead and attach these 2 rings as our bale. And you could thread these, like string them together using the Mobius flower as a connection point. You could do another one off the other end to have it be a choker or a bracelet, like if you strung these together. Like imagine if these 2 rings were attaching onto there. That's a nice, quite chunky but lovely bracelet. But yeah, and then the Mobius flower coming off the other side would be a wonderful way, and you could do another one hanging down with a little teardrop or something. So these are, sorry, squeaky floor. I gotta show you though the best part of all of this. So look at how they sparkle and shine in the sunlight. We are just charging these up, and then let's go back in. And this is how they look glowing. Oh my gosh. So sorry, I'm over here by my grow lights, but hence the purpliness of it. But oh my gosh, those are so vibrant and pretty. So yeah, that is one of the projects from this month's craft along project. So hey you guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me in this video. I really enjoy getting to craft together. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, do leave them down below. I love hearing from you. And I feel like this has some strengths, it has some weaknesses. I'm really interested in troubleshooting them with you guys and kind of seeing where we move forward with this. So I will see y'all in our next video, and until then, happy crafting. Mwah. Oh, you can sign up for the happy crafter club and all those other things down in the video, like all the stuff's down in the video description, you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye. Mwah.